Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to our program Consciousness in Evolution, a project from Reapprehension International created to discuss interesting themes in conscientiology, such as re-education, paranormal experience, and personal evolution. You can find our page Reapprehension International at YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Today we are going to talk about ectoplasm, a complex phenomenon with physical effects such as telekinesis, materializations, and even poltergeist. Conventional science has several difficulties in investigating the ectoplasm, which is part matter and part energy. Applied research entails its applications, such as in spiritual surgery or parasurgery. Today we have two special guests, Eliane Voslage and Fabiana Cerato. Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Eliane Voslav is graduated on Arts, Language, and Society and has been a university professor for more than 20 years. She's been also a volunteer and conscientiology instructor since the year 2000. She's the co-author of the English and Portuguese Glossary of Essential Conscientiology Terms and coordinator of the English Language Thesaurus of Conscientiological Terminology. Welcome, Eliane. And also we have here uh, Fabiana Cerato. She is graduated in architecture, specialized in project planning and building, positive psychology, didactics, and methodology. She has been a researcher in conscientiology instructor since 1997. She's also a mother of two daughters and an entrepreneur, interpreter, and writer. Welcome, guys, and the word is yours. Let's begin.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here, and especially talking about such an important phenomenon. I hope we understand a little bit more after this webinar. So let's start then to debate about ectoplasm and all the connections that we have, sharing our slides. Let me see. Okay, here we are. So today we are going to talk about ectoplasm in everyday life. I'm going to give the word to Eliane.
Yes, okay, people, welcome. So this is a webinar from Reapprehensia International. And Reapprehensia is a non-profit organization specialized in conscientiology and education. As our hostess said, we offer classes, cultural and scientific events on the topics re-education, teachers formation, personal growth and development, paranormal phenomena, energetic balance and techniques, and also parapedagogy. That is one of the main focus of Reapprehensia. I will also introduce to you, to the new people, the principle of disbelief. That is, don't believe in anything, not even in what you hear in this webinar. Experiment, have your own experiences. It means maintain your critical thought, send in your questions, and try to see if they have logic. And our focus here is for you to give some suggestions for you to have your own experiences about ectoplasm. Okay? And our general objective today in this lecture, people, is to understand and demystify ectoplasm in our everyday life. That is one of the most common but still poorly understood phenomena. We know that many of us are ectoplasts, if not all of us, and we leave some phenomena, some small details in our life that might be a repercussion, an effect of this process of producing ectoplasm. So let's study this more deeply, okay? And we have our specific objectives that are to present the definitions and characteristics of the substance itself, that is the ectoplasm, to talk about ectoplasm, that is the phenomena per se, and ectoplast, that is the person. What are the characteristics of the ectoplast persons? What are the symptoms? Okay. We are going to discuss some energetic signals of this ectoplast and study its positive and negative effects in everyday life, because we can see that ectoplasm can be very beneficial, although if it's not balanced, if we are not balanced, it can cause us some trouble. And last but not least, let's reflect about our own condition in relation to this phenomenon. How should we use this for our benefit, for the others' benefit as well? Okay. And some might think, is these phenomena, are these things real, or are they fantasy or imagination from us? So I ask Fabiana Serato, what do you think, Fabiana? Is ectoplasm real?
Yes, it is totally real. And because it's real, we have some examples and some experiences to share with you. And those experiences, they involve this phenomenon of ectoplasm. It's interesting. We are going to start talking about a few examples, and then we are going to explain ectoplasm in a more detailed way. So I have two examples I would like to share with you. Even if it's the first time you are arriving here, bear with us, stay with us. We are going to define and explain those examples later. So the first example I would like to share with you, it's about a teenager, a girl that I met her a few years ago, and it caught my attention because this teenager, she wants her brother's cell phone, because he had just bought a brand new cell phone. And he told her, "No, I'm not going to give you my cell phone." And then she told him, "Okay, you're not going to give me your cell phone. Your cell phone from now on is not going to work." And immediately his cell phone, his brand new cell phone he had just brought, stopped working. And then he was very unhappy. And then I was there, I could see that. And then he was very happy, he was very unhappy, and he asked her, "What's happened?" And then she said, "Well, give me the cell phone, lend me the cell phone, I can use, and then you are going to have it back." And then he had no other choice. Then he gave her the cell phone, and then she used the cell phone. She process everything she used for a few minutes, and then she give it back working 100%. This is a typical phenomena of ectoplasm. It's common to see many teenagers having this amount of dense energy, not knowing exactly how to deal with, but using it in some sort of way. So this is a fun example. It's an interesting example. And I have also a second example I would like to share with you. It's from a person from my family. I met her many, many years ago when I was born, and then she is a close family connection. And she has this strong capacity of healing people. She would place her hand on top of any sort of healing, either a headache, a bellyache, or any problems, and she will have this capacity of heal. Oh, and she has been helping. She helped many people with cancer as well. She's very discreet, a very simple person, but she has some friends and they call her whenever they need help. And she has been doing for all those years many works related with sterilizing ectoplasm, which is sterilizing dense energy as well. So it's another interesting example showing that ectoplasm is in fact real. So, Eliane, would you like to share one example as
Yes,
well?
yes, I have also some healing experiences in which I sterilized energies to sick people in an intensive care unit, and I had an intuition that the person had some blockage in the kidneys, and I started exteriorizing energies through the plantar chakras, that are the chakras on the sole of the feet, and the energy flow very smoothly, and the person I was able to help the person because she was taking a lot of medicines, but the pain wasn't going away. But after that exteriorization of energies that I felt the intuition to do, it improved a lot. And in other days, they asked me to energize again, and I did. It helped a lot. And another experience that I think it's very interesting, and at the time it happened, I was very scared, is related to what we call pyrogeny. And so what happened was that I was a kid and my brother was a younger kid, and I was taking care of him. Of course, I had my homework to do. I was involved with my stuff, and I had to take care of a kid because my mother was working. And he was very naughty boy, always talking. I wasn't able to concentrate properly to do the homework. And I started arguing with him, and I got very angry, asking him emphatically to please stay quiet. I need to work, but I was angry. And in the environment, there was a candle light, and there was also a piece of paper not so near to the candle. It was a kind of 30 centimeters from the candle. And after I shouted at him, I was angry at him, that piece of paper started burning without having contact with the fire of the candle. And it started burning in a way that it became a very volatile ashes, and that afterwards disappeared and dematerialized. And I got very um, scared because I had never saw it. I had never seen such a phenomenon. And now, many years later, I understood that was something had happened because of my anger. Okay, because I was angry at him. And after I got to know conscienciology and we started studying that, we realized that it was probably the ectoplasm I sterilized it for the environment that caused this phenomenon. So I think it's something that kids does that, children does that, and we have to know, to have information about it.
Yes, it's interesting because it's your second example shows more or less what happened with the cell phone that I showed. Kids, teenagers, we all have lots of energy. It's a natural phenomenon. So ectoplasm is a natural phenomenon. It's a conjunction of dense energies, and we all have that. Of course, kids, children, they can play with that. So it is real, and what we want to discuss here is how we can profit from that use, right? So great, let's start then. The word ectoplasm was created by Charles Richer. Charles Richer is considered the founder of metaphysics, and he created his work. He's a French physiologist specialized in immunology. He even received a Nobel Prize for his studies on anaphylaxis. And he decided, after some time, he decided to study more and to understand more about this energy that some mediums of physical effect would claim they do, they have, they act, they deal with. And then using his studies, he went deep on metaphysics, which is one of the most ancient areas of philosophy, and then he studies cell and using the connection between biology and the outer layer of cells and cellular protoplasm and colloidal substances that is thick and rich in vital elements. So then using all that, he created this word ectoplasm. He defined this. He was the first person who described this substance that we are going to study now. The main word comes from the word Greek ethos, which means outside of the cell, a substance that is outside of the cell. So it is interesting to understand and to highlight that ectoplasm is not a capacity that only we people has. We also can find ectoplasm in plants and also in animals. I'm sure that my dog is a very ectoplasm because sometimes he acts and behaves in ways that I can perceive some sort of ectoplasm together with him. We can perceive that. It's possible to see. Although we can deal with ectoplasm, manipulate, and people will not see, and we will be using and manipulating ectoplasm as well.
And so, people, we came to the definitions. I think it's very important for us to clarify at this point. So, ectoplasm is an energetic semi-material substance with viscous, milky characteristics exteriorized by a physical consciousness. So, we conscience that produce ectoplasm. And it's almost transparent and retractable, containing chemical properties similar to organic intracellular components. So it changes its form, it's retractable. And there is also the definition of ectoplast, that is the person or the parapsychic person who produces ectoplasm and derived the parapsychic phenomena. And the phenomena is called ectoplasmy. That is the phenomena of exteriorization of ectoplasm in a conscious or unconscious way.
So how is ectoplasm formed? As we mentioned before, about Charles Richer, he studied, but ectoplasm has a strong connection with the sympathetic and parasympathetic system. And it is formed by leukocytes, by epithelial cells, lipids, mucus, sodium, chloride, calcium, phosphate, among other phenomena, other elements. Sorry, not phenomena, elements. And it varies between gaseous, liquid, semi-solid, and solid states. So we can perceive either liquid, either solid, and this ectoplasm can be plastic, elastic, unstable, fluid, and volatile, as we mentioned before. And it's interesting to perceive that ectoplasm is concentrated in the human body, and it is usually exteriorized through human orifices, such as eyes, mouth, ear, hands, and others, or even cheeks, face. We can perceive. Sometimes it's even easy to perceive. We are going to talk ahead about the symptoms of ectoplasm. And then we are going to dive into more specific symptoms. But those symptoms happen exactly because we are sterilizing ectoplasm, and it can be even unconscious. The main goal here is that we can profit and transform into a conscious phenomenon, but it can be unconscious as well. And the characteristics, as we just mentioned, it can be manipulated either with knowing or not. And it's interesting because this ectoplasm can produce objects, the materialization of objects and consciousness and extra physical consciousness. We can also call it spirits. We can materialize either partial or a complete materialization from an extraphysical consciousness. It can produce some sort of noise, so it's a communication, this habit. We can use this, we can perceive, we can hear some noises related with this ectoplasm. Healing diseases, healings of F, as I mentioned in the example of my relative. Pyrosurgeries, we are going to talk about pyrosurgeries in the next live. We are going to dive into pyrosurgery and change temperature. This is very typical. Sometimes we are dealing things, we are having some strong situation, and then suddenly the temperature changes. This is a very specific characteristics, and it is totally related with this dense substance called ectoplasm. Eliane?
I'd
Yes,
like to ask a question here. Is there any conditions that are required for the phenomena to occur? Because I heard it is a very sensitive material, and it kind of disappears very easily. It's kind of a very, very volatile. So
yes.
maybe we could talk in which conditions would be ideal to form the ectoplasm.
Yes, we have information that, and our experience shows that the temperature, the ideal temperature would be between 17 degrees centigrade or cold, very cold environment, not too cold, but around 17 is a good temperature, and in the dark. We know that there are some parapsychic people who can produce ectoplasm in daylight and can produce phenomena in other temperatures. But usually, when we are doing that in a controlled environment, and then it's more we are more able to control the phenomena to do the assistance to extraphysical consciousnesses in need, and it's the ideal environment when it's colder and darker.
And it's very sensitive to light as well, and to heat,
Yes,
right? Mm-hmm.
yes,
Okay.
It's we are also going to talk um, almost towards the end about a consciocentric institution that is specialized on investigating and researching ectoplasm. And it's interesting because there are a few interesting conclusions that they have been having after so many years investigating and researching this phenomenon, and also asking people to deal and to manifest. What we want is use it in a more lucid way.
very good.
I'm sorry, here. And
So
it's
people,
connected with the types of ectoplasts that Eliane is going to explain now.
yes. Well, we have three big groups of ectoplasts, and the first are the ones promoter of physical effects, such as the pyrogeny that I told you, and others, clairaudience, clairvoyance, the poltergeist, that is a phenomena that is not positive at all. That is when there is huge and heavy objects are moved in a very strong way. And there is also the number two, that is there are the promoters of materializations of objects, and this can be a real objects like books or clothes or other objects, and also members of parts of the body that can be the whole body of an extraphysical consciousnesses, or part of its body, for example, hand or an arm. Okay. And there is also the number three, that are the promoters of healing and assistance. What we can say that the ideal for us would be to be number three, promoters of healing and assistance. That is where conscienciology has its differential makes, because we work in the parapsychic dynamics, we try to promote this assistential field that can promote a lot of assistance to people who need, for example, people who need parasurgeries or even extra-physical consciousnesses that are unbalanced, and they are brought to those fields to get a more to get assistance over there.
I think about poltergeist. I can speak a little bit because I have some experiences. When I was
Okay.
a child, when I was unhappy, like when you mentioned the experience with your brother, when I was very unhappy, the doors they will close in a very strong way. So, and I never realized that that was had some sort of relation with energy, with dense energy produced by ectoplasts. No? So this is an interesting process as well. Of course, poltergeist, we know it's a phenomenon that is done when someone is unbalanced. You know, usually a children with a very strong unbalanced energy, you know, and densifies that energy, and then the doors they could close or open. And
And
so,
Fabiana, a question about poltergeist. Are they always extra physical consciousnesses involved, or only the dense energy of the teenager or of the person is responsible for the phenomenon?
well, the typical poltergeist involved extra physical consciousness, but it's really hard to say if there is all the time an extra physical consciousness involved, as we call it spirits. No, sometimes if a person is too unbalanced, no, imagine a children totally unbalanced, or even one adult totally unbalanced with this amount of energy being exteriorized through all the eyes and orifices. That can cause some strong poltergeist phenomena as well. Of course, we whenever we talked and address poltergeist, we remember those movies, right, about that. And in that
Yeah.
movies, no, it's clear that there is an extra physical consciousness involved. But, I would say both situations are possible.
Okay, so it's a very pathological phenomenon. Okay. And what I want to point out here in between the types of ectoplasts, that if we want to achieve this condition of being promoters of healing and assistance, something that is very important is that we have to balance our toxins. That are, what are toxins? It's an unit of thoughts, sentiments, and energies. So everything starts with our thoughts. We have to balance, to have positive thoughts, assistential thoughts. Okay. And then if we balance our toxins, we are going to be able to sterilize a good quality, an ectoplasm of good quality. Okay. So let's talk about the healthy effects of ectoplasm. So let's suppose that you have a child that is highly ectoplast. And what's how it's going to be the healthy effects? This child will have parapsychism developed, more developed than others. She's sometimes is able to see extra physical consciousnesses, talk to invisible friends. She will tell you about lucid projectability. She has lucid projections, and she's going to be a very agile kid, usually good at sports, highly amount of affectivity, and will tell you about phenomena, parapsychic phenomena that she lives in everyday life. There is a book, and it's in English and Portuguese, from Lilian Zolé. There is called Parapsychism in Childhood, that can clarify a lot about parapsychism in childhood. It's worth reading, okay? And it's at Editaris, the editor from Conscienciology, and also in Amazon and several bookstores. Parapsychism in Childhood, okay? And
Another
how to be,
symptoms that a child would present is night terrors. Have you read something about it?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we are
We
going
are
to
going
talk
to talk.
about in the next slide that are the negative
Oh,
effects,
okay.
which is true, Anna. Thanks for reminding us. So, and during the adolescence, we can see the teenagers are very dynamic. They have a natural leadership, autonomy, and they also have this type of phenomena we mentioned before. Okay, can interfere in electrical devices. It's that teenager that usually breaks things. You give him a present and a gift, and the other day it's broken because because of this dense energy. And adulthood, you're going to see that adults who with this higher amount of ectoplasm are going to be intersubstantial epicenters. That it means they are going to deal with that. They can deal with that doing assistance, giving energy away, and they have a strong presence and strong presential strength. It means they outstand over the others. And also, people, other healthy effects we can mention the shielding or intersistence, shielding people and environment, invigoration, asepsis, calmness, detoxification of pathological energies, and parasurgery. Okay, that is something very important and very helpful if you have any health issue.
This shielding people, it's interesting, Eliane, because sometimes one very good example of that is that, let's suppose you were very tired, you were very unbalanced, and then out of nothing you talk with a friend, and then suddenly you perceive you got much better, more balanced, your mind is clean, everything changed, and then you think to yourself, what happened? So this person promotes a sort of shielding, could have done sort of shielding. A shielding is a kind of protection we can do with energy. It could be conscious or unconscious, you know? And it's totally related with this ectoplasm. It's interesting because sometimes when we are not so aware of the amount of energy and of the energetical capacity that we have, we might risk not perceiving that. But it's interesting how, as whenever we are with our energy balance, how we can detoxify either people, either energies, toxic energies around, or even changing environment for better.
Yes,
And how
Fabian,
about,
and what
yes,
I
go ahead.
want to, can you go back to the to that shielding? Yes, to this slide. Well, I remember I had a doctor when I was a teenager, and this doctor was very good. He was able to talk to the patient whenever you felt some disease, some things. He would kind of shield you. I think we can use this expression because he is a man. He was very assistential and was able to free you from a pain very easily. And I think that's what he did. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's that reminds me because there are people that just by talking with them,
Yeah.
you can feel that they are embracing you. It's interesting. Oh,
And
Be-
there is also the self shielding. We call also self-encapsulation, in which, for example, you are going to go to a hard environment, to a difficult environment, and you can self-shield yourself through moving your energies and exteriorizing it as if you form a cover. And this is another phenomenon that you can promote to yourself to protect you from toxic environments. It's another.
Rem- Remember that movie? I don't know if you watched Cocoon. It's a sort of no, people were encapsulated, they were sleeping to be born. So a shielding, we can even do a comparisons. It's when you cocoon yourself from different difficult situations or unbalanced situations. And this can be done with energy, with ectoplasm.
Very good.
So, how about nosographic effects of ectoplasm? I experienced that a lot in the past. Now I don't experience anymore because I learned how to balance my energy. But in childhood, I used to have some night terror, hyperactivity, intrusive, invisible friends. I would be talking with spirits all the time, and some also sleepwalking can also happen in the childhood. What is the meaning of that? It means that you have a lot of energy with you and you don't know how to deal with. And the way we deal with energy is totally related with mental commands. No? And of course, as a children are not so aware unless the family is aware. So this can cause this not knowing, not being aware of ectoplasm can cause some hyperactivity and night terror, as we mentioned before with Anna. And in the adolescence, it can cause hypersexuality, of course, too much energy without a specific object, without a specific direction. Lipotymy, poltergeist, as we mentioned before, anxiety, they are all nosographic effects from this concentration of ectoplasm. And in adults, you can even see by the picture, right? He is very unhappy with tons of energy. And the excess of energy without a specific guideline, without a specific orientation, can cause this excess of craziness, a crisis, and also can cause some sort of depression, insomnia, fatigue, and a very important point here, accident proneness. Those people, they are all the time having mini accidents. Either things are falling down from their hands, or they are bumping or kicking in something, or mini accidents that usually adults they don't pay attention. They think like, no, it's just little things. This is totally related with not working your energy. Ectoplasm is a dense energy. If we don't work, stay stuck. And what's gonna happen? It's gonna be sometimes it's gonna be we are going to exteriorize without any balance, and this will be very easy to promote some sort of mini accidents. So let's
Fabiana,
pay
I'd
attention.
like to add, I'd like to add it to these nosographic effects or negative effects. The fact of people using drugs, looking for drugs or alcohol, either uh, illicit or licit drugs, because it's a way to balance the anxiety. Because if you have too much energy, you can't exteriorize, you can't use it for a better purpose. It's going to be accumulated, it's going to start bothering you. And if you the person might think that using drugs or alcohol might give him a relief, and it can for a while, but after that the person gets more unbalanced and get the extra physical companies that come attracted by that habit. And that's even worse, because then the consciousness, the person, as we call the intraphysical consciousness, will have some companions that are not so pleasant, and something else to happen, an accident, to have this accident proneness more activated. So it's snowball
Yes, and
that's
is
starting bigger and bigger if the person is not aware and doesn't balance himself.
as we used to say, the energy, the reality will come back to you crawling for help. So whenever you use some mechanism to relieve yourself from a situation and you don't want to face and analyze, deep dive into that situation, you risk having this. You just go out, and then when you come back, the situation comes back to you even bigger for you to analyze. And just a quick comment here. in Reaprendência, which is the consciouscentric institution that had invited us to be here today, we have a course called Fundamentals of Consciousness Evolution with 20 classes in which we explain how you can learn to deal better with your energy and many other informations related with that. So here comes the basic question. We might ask ourselves or the others, no, am I an ectoplast? How I will be aware if I am not an ectoplast or if I am an ectoplast? So what do you think, Eliane?
Well, I think we are all ectoplasts. Some of us have this capacity, this skill more evolved because we have been working with that in other lives or in this life, depending on the family, on the person, the mesology of the person, she might have developed more these skills. But in fact, we all have this potential because we have a physical body. We are conscious. We have cells, organ, interstitial spaces where there is a concentration and production of energy. And I think as we are studying conscienciology, we are all ectoplasts. What differs from one person to another is that some of us are dedicate more time, more effort to develop and control this ability. What do you think, Fabiana?
Well, if you dedicate more time to control this ability and to learn more about yourself, since Eliane mentioned, we are all ectoplasts. We all have this ability. Nevertheless, we have some signals, some sensations, some signs that will help us to perceive that sometimes we are exteriorizing not only energy, but dense energy, as we call it, ectoplasm. And here are 15 signs for you to perhaps identify some of those and can talk to yourself. Well, I have those signs. And I even have some things that you guys mentioned before. I think I might be an ectoplast. So let's put that in practice. Let's talk about the signs and perceive if you have a few of those. Would you like to start, Eliane, or should I start?
Yes, I can start. I'm going to read the first 5 ones, okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Psychomotor agitation. Okay, it's the one that is more hyperactive. Goosebumps. Okay, goosebumps. Ballooning, when you feel inflated. Yawning. And need to constant swallow. For example, either when you are with someone, with the person that is absorbing needs energy and you are exteriorizing it unconsciously or consciously, you have that necessity of swallowing the saliva. Or you start yawning, that is a way of detoxification, or you have goosebumps, your hair of your arms start. Okay,
Yes.
this is the first 5.
This yawning is very typical. We can see this in many people. Sometimes we are in a dense environment and people start to yawn. It's not because it's monotone. I'm not referring to that class that everybody's sleeping. I'm referring to a strong, dense environment that needs cleansing. And sometimes we are cleansing this environment without perceiving, and then we start yawning. This is a typical ectoplasm signal. Another one.
Or, Fabiana, when we have a conversation that doesn't please us much, we don't
A
like
dense
that.
conversation, yes.
Because the conversation has a heavy subject, we don't like it, and we start getting intoxicated with that subject, and we start yawning to sterilize ectoplasm, to detox.
Good point. Itchy throat. This is very common for me. I have a lot. Itchy throat. Abdominal contraction. I have that number seven as well. Sometimes you can feel this physical straight in your abdominal, and sometimes even inside your brain. You know, this strong. It's like your brain is getting smaller. It's interesting because these symptoms, they are connected with our physical body. So sometimes we kind of don't understand, but it's related with energy. You know, nostril dilatation, abdominal distension, and spontaneous vibrational state. A vibrational state is an energetic technique that we teach in this course we mentioned before, Fundamentals of Consciousness Evolution. It's a technique for us to shield ourselves, to protect ourselves, and to balance this amount of energy that we have. It's an interesting technique. We have even one webinar with Tatiana Mota, in which she explains exactly how the vibrational state is done. Go there and have a look. It's worth it.
Yes, and we have hypersalivation that has to do with that need to constantly swallow. Tearing, that's very common. The eyes, something that is very common. You yawn, your eyes get tearing, and
Get
you have
wet.
increase in salivation. And
Yes.
and also for me, what is very common is the transient nausea. We are, for example, in a parapsychic dynamic, exteriorizing energy, and all of a sudden we have a nausea. It's very strong nausea, but all of a sudden it disappears. That's a sign of a strong exteriorization of ectoplasm. And that cobweb sensation, many people say that they it's like they are putting their hands on a cobweb or touching a cobweb. And dampness in hands and feet, it's also very common, but these are only 15 signals we have in the book. We have this book, it's not yet translated into English, okay? It calls Ectoplasm, and but we are asking Ectolab to translate it into English, and I hope that soon we'll have it to offer to you. And this book has 50 phenomena that were enumerated during the parapsychic dynamic. And they say, well, try for you to have an idea if you how is your level of ectoplasmy. Try to see if you have 10% of that, 10% of this 50 phenomena, and make a list. For example, from all of that, I have 10. Only here I have 10. And so I think I'm a good ectoplast nowadays. More
Yes.
lucid,
And
hopefully.
I have two daughters, and the Nicole has a lot of the number 15, this humidity in her hands and feet as well. A lot. She's all the time with that, you know. And also tears, a lot of tears, you know, the eyes full of water. And this is very often. This has a strong relation with this amount of energy that we all have without being able to deal. You know? And of course, as soon as we learn how to deal better with our ectoplasm, that all those symptoms and the signs, they get more balanced, they get more harmonized, and we can profit from that.
Fabiana, there is another symptom that is the red face. My
Yes.
my sister has what in Portuguese we call rosácea. I don't know in English, it's maybe rosácea or
Rosa,
Rosacea.
rosacea.
rosacea. Yeah,
Okay.
she has rosacea, and her cheeks get very red all the time, and she's an ectoplast, one of the strongest type.
I I remember that my daughter once, many years ago, when she was still a child, she used to have her lips red, and I had this. I thought that she was using lipsticks, So very often I would ask her to remove her lipstick, and she go back to me and said, "Mom, I'm not using anything. It's just the way I
It was
am."
her
So
natural.
it's the natural ectoplasm sign, right? So it's also it's very interesting. And together, Anna, do you have a question?
Yes, I'd like to mention something that is important.
Okay.
All these symptoms, they are related to ectoplasm, but you also have to check with your doctor or with a physician if they are not related to any kind of disease, because they can be also symptoms of any physical problems. And this is how we do science. We eliminate all
Mhm.
the physical possibilities that might be causing those symptoms, because those symptoms are mostly related to the dysautonomy, which is an imbalance of our parasympathetic and sympathetic systems, which are part of our autonomous system, neural system. So
Very
be
good.
aware of if this has any physical cause first, and if the physical cause is like a eliminated, and then you can attribute this to be caused by ectoplasm. Okay.
Mhm. It's
Very,
important to
very
bring
good
it's
information.
important to bring that point because we are here talking about energy, and energy most of the time people don't see, but they can feel the signs and the symptoms. But together with that, we have a physical body, and it's very important to exclude. So do not refrain for going into a doctor and for investigating yourself until you are sure that is not nothing of those phenomena and nothing of those symptoms are related with your physical body. So it's a good contribution. It's an important point. Together with that, we have phenomena that is produced from the ectoplasm exteriorization. No? We have a few here, as we mentioned before, materializations of objects and people. Raps are sounds. No, those sounds. Now I did it physical, but they are non-physical. No, I just reproduced from the physical point of view. Telekinesis, in which we can move objects with energy. We can start practicing with a little cotton. No, it's possible to do that. Olorization, clairvoyance. Yesterday in class, a student mentioned he had some clairvoyance experience, no, because he has been taking our classes. We are in the class number 10, and he mentioned, yes, I had some clairvoyance experience. And this is produced by exteriorization of ectoplasm.
Fabiana, do you remember that phenomenon produced by Uri Geller? He was bending knives
Yes.
and he
Yes.
was bending a fork. He took a fork
Mhm.
or a spoon and
Uh-huh.
make it. It was super like soft, like was
Yes.
made of butter. So this is one of
Yeah,
the
this is another point that caught my attention. We have to exclude also people who are not using energy and who are producing fake phenomenon. If you go to the internet and if you type ectoplasm, you will find many people talking about ectoplasm, but with fake phenomena. So this ectoplasm phenomenon can be fake. So we are talking about a real energy, a real process, a real phenomenon, not about fake phenomena. In the past, in 1940s, 1848, no, we had some sort of experiences and some investigations, some scientific investigation, in order to deep in and to understand better what were those physical effects that ectoplasm would cause. That was we did that in past a lot. So it's important to pay attention and differentiate, talking about science once more, reality from what is not real, excluding not real or fake things. And then we have a psychophony and parasurgery, as we mentioned before. No, psychophony is also quite normal phenomena we can experience when someone starts to produce noise through his mouth using extra physical connection and exteriorizing energies and giving some real information. This is also a real phenomenon.
I want to point out here that for producing this ectoplasm, producing this phenomena, if you want to, the best way is to relax. When we go into deep relaxation, our vehicles of manifestation of the consciousness that are our bodies, because we don't have only the physical body, we have three other bodies beyond the physical one. We have the energosoma, the psychosoma, and the mental soma. And you can know more about that in a webinar called Holosoma. We explain that a lot. And so, whenever we are working with our energies, it's very important that we relax and we clean our mind so that in this way, our vehicles will be out of alignment and it is going to get much easier for the exteriorization of ectoplasm. So, the key of everything, yeah, the key of
Okay.
everything is the relaxation.
And once we consider, right? Once we consider, I am an ectoplast person. I have this some signs that I usually are all the time donating energy, strong, dense energy. Sometimes I have some mini accidents. Sometimes I can even move things that I did not touch with a strong level of energy. What should I do with this amount of ectoplasm that I have? And why should I donate and how I can donate that? So those questions, they might be popping in your mind right now, and then we are going to address that. Eliane?
Yes, people, as I told you before, uh, conscienciology was the science that proposed a different approach to ectoplasm. Okay, that is to use it as a more assistential way. We can say interassistential way. So, for us to donate, to give this ectoplasm to the ones in need, we have first to be very relaxed, deep relaxation, clean our minds, right? But we also have to have a balanced life with healthy toxins. Toxin, as I mentioned before, they are thoughts, sentiments, and energies. It means that everything we think is going to reflect in a way we feel in a pattern of energies we exteriorize. So we have to be aware to have orthotoxins, to think positively about life, not have prejudice against people, have being more empathic toward the others. That's gonna help us a lot having a healthier tocination. Okay, and of course we are constantly exchanging energies, so we can choose to exchange energies with the ones who have this more equilibrated pattern, right? And that's I think our life will be more productive. We will be more able to do this interassistance, because if we are not well and balanced, how can we help to cure, to heal the others? Okay.
It's I just want to contribute on that. This toxin, it's a neologism, it's a new word that is made by the three connections, thoughts, sentiments, and energies. Meaning that, as Eliane mentioned, whenever we think, we promote a sensation and we will be exteriorizing some sort of energy. So remember that expression that your grandfather or your grandmother used to say, don't think bad because bad things will happen. It's not just a coincidence. The energies, it's a natural, energies are natural phenomena, as real as this cell phone here, right? It's very natural and it's connected. Everybody has energies. What happens is that the big majority of the population are not aware of the effects, of the consequences of the good use of their own energies, device, no, the possibilities. Energies are a tool to be used in more harmonic and balanced way, together with our thoughts. So once we consider that we prioritize, the sterilization of ectoplasm, once we consider, as we mentioned before, good thoughts, sentiments, and energies, once we consider we can donate ectoplasm for a good purpose, what could we be doing? What should we prioritize as of ectoplast, as being an ectoplast person? Here
Yes,
are some of those ideas.
here
Go
are
ahead.
some propositions from conscienciology. Assistance, interassistential volunteering. In fact, assistance permeates all this. Okay, interassistential volunteer. You go to a conscienciocentric institution, and you are going to, for example, teach to do the clarification task. That is to clarify people about multidimensionality, bioenergies, multiple lives, this kind of stuff that we consider that the world population needs very much this kind of information nowadays, and and express it in how do I say, in a rational way, without too much emotionalisms, too much religion bias. Okay, in a more to clarify really the our interactions with other dimensions, with other lives, with the bioenergies, with the importance of being cosmoetic. So we can put this into practice in the interassistential volunteer that can be in conscienciology and can be in other parts, in other companies that that have this healthy environment of helping the others. Okay, so it's very good. So another thing that helps a lot is the lucid projectability, the out of body experience. When you go out of the body, you can have a lot of experiences. You can do self research, and you can meet extra physical consciousnesses, and you are going to be with your more dense energy, and you are going to help to reurbanize, to rearrange some extra physical environments that are more sick and pathological. You can do, as I mentioned, the clarification test, that is to teach conscienciology, and to do the personal energetic task, what we call penta. That is a daily exteriorization of energies that you do once you assume this task. You're going to exteriorize energies for 1 hour for the rest of your life. With, of course, you exteriorize the dense energies, and there are extra physical team we call helper, an extra physical helper that is going to help to distribute the energies to the person, to the extra physical consciousness or intraphysical ones that need this dance of yours. And this is all permeated with ectoplasm. So this is one some examples. There are more, as we mentioned. There are, excuse me, Fabiana. There are more. There is the parasurgeries. There are the interassistential fields, energetic fields in which we do the parapsychic dynamic. I think they are in the next picture, next slide. You're gonna see how it works.
Yes, we are arriving right to our time. I just want to highlight 2 points that, together with what Eliane mentioned, is that much of that we can use it in our day by day. No, actually, multidimensionality, dealing with energy, putting our ectoplasm on practice. We can do this in everyday life, in day by day. For example, clarification task means clarifying, means helping someone to understand better. When you have your colleague who is crying, 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 you can help this person by sitting next to her or next to him, giving them some time to process these feelings and then help this person to think in a different way. This is clarification. No, we can do that together using our energies. People will not perceive you are still arising energies, but you are still arising energy in a good, with a good intention. And to conclude our lecture today, we would like to address and to even to invite you to participate in some of those fields. There are two consensus-centric institutions that we are going to show here. The first energetic fields that you can see here in this picture is done by Reaprendencia. It's the consensus-centric institution which is promoting this lecture today. This is an energetic field, as we mentioned, no, created with everybody, everybody here in this field is contributing with his amount of dense energy, his amount of good ectoplasm. And then we can create a field, an energetic field, and then interact, exchange energies. And together with that, we also have this other field, energetic field, that Ectolab uses. So we call it, both are called dynamics, no, parapsychic dynamics. Here is a picture from Ectolab, parapsychic dynamic, and other pictures here are from parapsychic dynamics in Reaprendencia. Both are working here, consensus-centric institutions are creating energetic fields to promote cleansing, vitalization, better thoughts, and helping people to promote and to develop a more harmonic life using dense energies with a good purpose, as we mentioned.
That's it. So,
Okay.
people, we would like to invite you to subscribe in our channel. Give your like to this live if you like it, okay? And follow us in our social medias. We have here many contacts that you can subscribe, okay? And well, we are very happy to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys
Yes.
for being here. And I'd like to extend an invitation for our next live. We are going to continue to talk about this topic. This is a very interesting topic that has a lot to be still explored. And instructor Djalma Fonseca, it's going to be our next guest on October 16th. And we are going to continue talking about ectoplasm and exploring another applications of this whole science. There is a whole science beyond what we are already talked here today. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions or any doubts, we are going to be checking the YouTube channel, and instructors Fabiana and Eliane can still answer some questions that we didn't have time to address today. So feel free to check on our channels and subscribe and give your like, please.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.